All right, so my name is Emily McGurl. I'm our admissions coordinator for online programs, and I work very closely with our online Masters of Public Health program as well as our online Masters in Biostatistics program. I've been at Brown for about 2.5 years, working very closely with both programs, and I'm delighted to be joined with two of my colleagues, which will have them introduce themselves, and I'll start off with Nithya.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. I'm Nitya Ramesh. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Epidemiology. I'm also the director of online programs at the school and specifically the academic director of the online MPH program. I am a dentist by training. I'm a board certified public health dentist, but my work has really been in program evaluation and program design. And I teach in the online MPH program as well. I teach two courses in the program. And I'm happy to talk more about our curriculum as things go on. Thanks, Emily. And I'll pass it on to Kim.
Awesome. Thanks, Nithya. My name's Kim Pulaski. I am the graduate recruitment coordinator for this program. So basically, I'm your first line of inquiry, if you will, and I'm happy to answer questions for you, have a conversation. We can communicate via text, email, whatever works for you. I just want to make sure you get all the information you need to make a smart decision for yourself. And I have been with this program for 4 years now, a little over 4 years. And prior to that, I've worked in higher education for about 12 years in addition to this. So I am excited you guys are all here with us. I recognize some familiar names, and I'm very happy that you're joining us today. So thank you very much. Back to you, Miss Emily.
Perfect. All right. So just a few bits of housekeeping before we get started. We are in a webinar format. So the way that you can interact with us is through the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. So we'll have some designated time at the end to read out your questions and answer them live. But today we're going to do a deep dive into our online Masters of Public Health programs. So both myself, Nithya, and Kim are going to be talking about the program format, the curriculum. We'll go into what makes Brown stand apart with our career outcomes, and then we'll go into our admissions requirements, review some upcoming deadlines, and then leave a good bulk of time at the end to answer all of your questions. But we're going to go ahead and get started with, I'm going to turn it over to Nithya to talk a little bit about the faculty in our online MPH program.
Sure. So, as I mentioned, I teach two classes in the online MPH program. I specifically teach the implementation science coursework, and I sometimes also teach the global leadership class as well. And then we have Professor Michael Harvey, who has really been with the program from the start. Actually, all the people on this slide have been on with the program right from its inception. And Professor Harvey, he teaches the policy classes. And in addition to that, he has also recently stepped up to be the director of applied learning, where he oversees all the practicum, all things related to the practicum in the program. Then we have Professor Karen Andes, who is also the director of our residential MPH program, and she teaches the qualitative methods and the leadership class that she and I take turns teaching that class. And then last but not the least, we have Professor Hannah Zubrowski, who teaches the epidemiology as well as the integrated learning experience course in our program. And in a little bit, I can tell you about the difference between the practicum and the ILE. And then we have Professor Alex Glazier. Alex has a very interesting background. She is a law professor as well, in addition to being a professor of public health. She also is the president and CEO of an organ donation nonprofit that keeps her very busy. And that really makes her the perfect person to be teaching our Leadership 1 class, which is the first class that you take when you come into the program. And then we have Professor Linkletter, who I'm happy to share was my professor 10, 12 years ago when I was in the program at Brown. And she teaches our biostatistics course, and she really makes biostatistics feel easy. I know there's many people who come into the program with some anxiety about biostatistics. I know I did. And she really makes it much easier than I had thought that it would be. So we're really lucky to have her. And then, of course, we have Professor Scott Rifkes, who used to be the state surgeon general for the state of Florida, and is now our acting associate dean of education in the school. And he and I co-lead the leadership focus in the program. And then we have Professor Craig Spencer, who is our clinical focus lead. And again, I can talk about what the two focuses are in a little bit. But Craig Spencer, he's an emergency physician. He's done a lot of work. You may have seen him on the news talking about the Ebola outbreak right now. He's very active when it comes to all these emergency outbreaks and pandemic preparedness.
All right. So now we're going to talk about why online MPH. So our program is really built for working professionals. So what that means is our program, and we'll talk a little bit about this in a bit about the program format, but our program allows flexibility to either be full-time, part-time, or accelerated in our program. So it gives a lot of options for those working professionally. About 94% of our students do work and have a full-time job while completing the program. And we'll go over this during the admissions requirements, but we do require 1 year of work experience as well. So the course content is really built for working professionals. And I'll have Nithya talk a little bit more about the curriculum, and how, it's really built for people who are working in the field right now.
Yes, so the online MPH program, every MPH program is different. And we have you as applicants, I'm sure you're thinking about what's the best fit. So I'm happy to tell you about what sets our program apart, which I think is the real world application aspect of our program. So the Brown Online on MPH program is really focused on learning public health by doing public health, which is our school's motto. And in every class, we try to make sure that students develop an actual real world skill that they can apply so that you're not thinking about how to translate from theory to practice when you get a job, but that you're job ready, essentially. And in almost every class, students work on a deliverable that they can immediately use and apply in their jobs because 92% of our students are working professionals. And we've heard from most of our students that they're able to immediately apply what they're learning in the classroom right in their work. I can give you some examples. For instance, in the policy class, the final thing that you develop in the course is a policy brief. So you learn how to write a policy brief. And then in the communications class, you come up with a communication plan. And then in my class, in the interventions class, you learn how to write a grant proposal. So in every class, you end up picking up some real world skills that you can immediately apply in the workplace. And I think that's very important given the current job market and whatnot.
Thank you, Nithya. So the next is, we'll talk about high touch support and accessible faculty. So our online MPH staff is comprised of myself, Nithya, and two other of our colleagues, Brenda Brackett and Alexis Wilson. So Brenda works with the practicum, which you'll hear a little bit about in a bit. And then Alexis is our academic advising coordinator. And then our faculty as well usually hold their office hours either before or after their synchronous sessions. So faculty, you'll get a chance to interact with your faculty every week. Our online MPH staff is here for you as well, as you go throughout the program. And we just had commencement this past weekend, or Memorial Day weekend. And it's so fun, Brenda and Nithya were up at commencement, and it's so fun to hear about, students are so excited to see the program staff and faculty in person. And it just really shows the connections that you do build with your staff and faculty, as well as the students into the program. So it's really wonderful to see at commencement, all of our students, meeting each other and meeting the staff in person if they haven't had a chance to do so before they graduate. So that goes into the One Brown community. We really are a big community, and online students also have access to the alumni network as well as Brown Connect, which is a huge platform that we'll talk a little bit later about in career. But we also have an online MPH alumni network that students can get in touch with. We really do build lifelong connections throughout the program, which is really wonderful to see. So just a little bit more about the students. We talked about the connections that you'll build with staff and faculty, but the students really do build connections with one another, and that's due to students coming from all different sectors and all different industries in the work. So we have about 40% of our students coming from the non-clinical background, 28% coming from clinical background, but then we also have students coming from consulting and finance, from Brown, the Rhode Island Department of Health, education, the tech field, the law field, the U.S. military, and 38% of our students are already coming with some sort of advanced degree before they enter our programs. So our students really do learn from each other as well as they learn from the faculty in the program as well. And we have students right now from 37 different states and 6 different countries. So we have students from all over, and it's really wonderful to see the students connect with one another in the program. And, the students really do bring a different not all of them are coming from the clinical or non-clinical sector, so it really does enrich the synchronous sessions that you'll be attending as well, which is really great. And then I'll turn it over to Nithya to talk a little bit more about the folks that you'll see on the screen in the news.
Yeah, so as I just mentioned, Craig Spencer, he was on the news. He's frequently on the news talking about any outbreak that happens. I think he's the go-to person nowadays. So that's him on in the top left corner, that picture that he's on the news. And then there's also Scott Rivkees, who used to be the state surgeon general. He's also frequently consulted. And then we have Jennifer Nuzzo in the bottom right corner. That's they're talking about when our health secretary and the others had made some connection about autism and acetaminophen, and then she was on the news talking about the medical science background of that. So, and this is just a glimpse of all the faculty who are involved. We have many other faculty who are constantly in the news doing real world action out there. Many of our research faculty are out there doing research, sharing their research, talking about their work, and sharing their expertise as well.
All right. So I'm going to go over the program format. So the program format, you take 12 courses in the online MPH program as well as a 145-hour practicum. We'll go over the practicum in a little bit, but the courses, our program is a generalist program. So the courses, you'll see the curriculum on the next slide when we go over that. But we don't offer electives in the program. But when Nithya talks about the curriculum, she can tell you a little bit more about customizing the courses to your assignments. So there's 3 terms per year. We have 3 start terms. We have fall, spring, and summer. So right now our fall 2026 application is open as well as our spring 2027 application. We just closed summer 2026. I saw some questions before we started the webinar. Unfortunately, summer 2026 is closed, but we do have fall and spring available right now. And you will take courses in the fall, spring, and the summer. So our program does go year round. The standard plan of study is 2 courses per term, but you do have flexibility to either go part-time. So part-time for us is 1 course per term. Full-time, which is the standard plan, is 2 courses. And then we have an accelerated option of either 12 months or 16 months. So lots of options for the program. You can complete the program in as little as 1 year or as long as 5 years. So 5 years is the maximum amount of time that you can complete the program. But you just have to let us know before you register for classes if you'd like to change what's called your custom plan of study. But if you do that, then our advising coordinator, who I mentioned, Alexis Wilson, she does a great job of creating your custom plan of study to let you know which courses to take, as not all courses are offered every semester. So if you communicate with us ahead of time, you can absolutely do a custom plan of study. So if you want to go from part-time to full-time, you have more time in the summer, want to take some courses, completely flexible with that. But again, just letting us know is very important before registration. Every student is assigned a faculty advisor in their first semester. And the courses are asynchronous content, so your courses will be delivered on Canvas, and you will have optional weekly synchronous sessions, as I mentioned. That's where you'll go over what you've learned in the course, content that you were working on the week before. And then I'll have Nithya talk a little bit more about the clinician and leadership focus as well.
Yeah, so I touched on this a little bit earlier when I introduced Craig Spencer and Scott Rivkees, but the leadership and the clinician focus are just optional additional no-cost training areas for our students to get some more mentorship from the program. And this, again, we are highly sensitive to student feedback. So this was the result of feedback that we got from students who were looking for this additional mentorship aspect, because as an online student, sometimes you might feel a little cut off from the faculty and other what's going on campus. It's a little more easier. So we intentionally set this up so that students in the online program get some focused mentorship. So in the clinician focus, this one is mostly for anybody with a clinical background. If you work with a patient, you qualify for this clinician focus. But again, these webinars are open for anybody to attend. So even if you're not registered for the clinician focus, you're still welcome to attend those webinars. And the goal of those sessions is the students get to hear from speakers who they may not usually have access to. And these are people who are pretty high profile, very well known in their fields, and who have been successful in being able to bridge public health and their roles as clinicians. So it's a great opportunity to get some mentorship, because oftentimes it's just one sentence or something that somebody says can spark an idea and can lead to a whole change in somebody else's life. And we think that these kind of mentorship, these are very informal, candid conversations that you get to have with these mentors who can provide you some guidance and advice on any work that you're doing, any project you have going on, or just maybe some professional mentorship and guidance that they can provide in those sessions. So that's really the value that of those sessions, that I think they're very valuable. And then in the leadership focus, it's not for clinicians, it's just general public health leadership. So in your role, wherever you are in your careers, whether you're mid-career, early career, you may want some mentorship on how to get started on being a leader in public health. And that's what these sessions are focused on. They tell you about how to get your start, how to find the right mentors, how do you get started in being a leader in public health. And if you already are a leader, then how do you take that next step in your career? So that's, I think our students find these sessions quite valuable, so they get to hear from these mentors. And I'm happy to talk about our curriculum as well, Emily. So as Emily mentioned earlier, we have 12 courses in the program, and in the standard plan of study, these are taken over the course of 2 years. Each year you have 3 terms. So you have the fall, spring, and summer terms. Depending on when you come into the program, you would start at that semester, and you take 3 terms in a year. This can be consolidated and taken over 12 months. So you would end up taking 4 courses a semester if you're doing the 12-month program, or 16 months if you try to do like 3 courses, 4 courses, 2, 3, or like you do a mix and match. And again, you're not tied into any specific plan of study. So if you come into the program and then you realize maybe 2 is too much, you can go down to part-time and then take 1 class at a time to finish the program over 4 years. Or you have more time over the summers, and in the summer you want to take 4 classes, but then in the fall and the spring you want to take 2 classes. You can absolutely do that. We are a very flexible program, and many of our courses are offered multiple times a year, though not every course. So you would have to talk to us just to make sure that the course you have to take is being offered in that semester, which is what Emily mentioned earlier, that Alexis can give you a customized plan of study. And a lot of our students are on a customized plan of study, and we're happy to talk to you about what makes the most sense for you.
Awesome. Thank you, Nithya. All right. Do you want to talk about the practicum?
Yeah, I can talk about this too. Yeah. So in addition to our coursework, which covers the foundational content like EPI, biostats, and other things, you also have a practicum and an integrated learning experience, which is a requirement of all MPH programs. So this isn't unique to Brown. This is a requirement from our accrediting body, the Council of Education and Public Health, or CEF. So every MPH program around the country offers a practicum and an integrated learning experience. But how we've structured it is that our practicum is something that you can do either at your current workplace. It just has to be a clearly defined project outside of your regular responsibilities. Or you can use it as an opportunity to test out a different organization that you've always been curious about working there, but you've just never been able to find the right time or the opportunity. So this is one way to try out a different agency or your current place, or a different team within your current organization, maybe. And as Emily mentioned, we have an applied learning coordinator, and then we also have Professor Harvey, who's the director of applied learning, and they will walk you through all of the steps, and they'll tell you what needs to be done, how you can approach this, what kind of deliverables you might come up with. And at the end of the internship, you would end up developing deliverables that are of use to the agency or the organization that you're working with. And how I usually tell my students is that this is another way. If you do it at your current workplace, it's like a way that you can show your organization the extra value you're bringing them with this MPH training that you're getting. And many of our students use that to get a promotion within their workplace. Or it could be, like I said, a way to try out a different organization, which can then open a door for maybe a different position that you're looking for after you finish your MPH program. And then the integrated learning experience in our program, we have built that into the coursework as the final course that you take in the program. Many times the ILE is something that students are left to do on their own, where you develop a capstone project or a thesis project. But in our program, we do a little bit of hand-holding where everybody goes through this, works on it at the same time. You all work on the introduction section, then everybody does the method section. And so it's a way to make sure that you're getting that mentorship as you're writing this, because not everyone comes into the program with significant research experience. And this is really a guided research experience for you to develop a paper, a publishable quality paper at the end of the course.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Nithya. All right. We talked a little bit about career services when we talked about the Brown community, but we do have a colleague named Emily Nolan, and she works specifically in the School of Public Health and works really close with our students to provide application preparation, various job boards. A newsletter is sent out, and then she'll usually send out some job postings as well. So we have those resources available for you as well, even as online students. And then career outcomes. So as I mentioned, our students come into the program with various different career sectors that they're working in. Some students stay in their current employment and are looking or seeking promotions for adding the advanced degree. But other students transition to either academia, PhD programs, other kind of programs that they're looking into. They'll go into the public sector, the private sector, or medicine and healthcare as well. And then just some more Brown hiring organizations. I mentioned we have Brown Connect. So we have various alumni at various institutions that are listed here, and many, many more that would not fit on the slide. So just to highlight some organizations that our students have gone on to as well. And then I'll turn to Nithya a little bit to talk about what our recent graduates are doing and some things that you can do with your MPH degree.
Yeah, so I mentioned that many of our students have had career progression in their current workplace. They end up getting a promotion, just getting that additional credential often helps. Sometimes people do a career switch. We have a lot of students coming in with a tech background or a finance background, and they're trying to get into the health tech or healthcare financing, grant funding kind of background. So this MPH helps them with that positioning. A few of our students have gone on to do medical programs or residency programs. Sometimes they've gone to fellowships. They've had academic appointments. Some of them have gone on to do a PhD or a DRPH. One of my students just got accepted at BU. Two of them now have gotten accepted into BU for their DRPH program. So it's very exciting. So they go on to do higher education. Sometimes people go on to do public policy. They work at a policy or organization, government organizations. They work at nonprofits, pharma industries. Again, another industry that seems to hire students from our program. And of course, nonprofit is another option as well. So there's MPH has got a pretty broad range of career options when you finish. It really depends on your interests and what you would like to focus on in your careers. And I know people switch. I often share that about myself as well. As soon as I graduate, I mean, while I was doing the program, I was working in the Rhode Island State Department of Health. And then I worked in academia, then I worked in consulting, and now I'm back in academia. So, not everybody has a linear path and people often move around. But that's, I think, the benefit of an MPH is that it gives you the flexibility and the breadth that allows you to transition between different roles.
All right. So now we're going to go over the cost. So as we mentioned, there's 12 courses in the program, and you'll see the cost per course, as well as the one-time academic record fee. So we provide merit-based scholarships between 20 and 50%. And there's no separate application to apply for merit-based scholarships. So when you apply in SOFIS, which Kim will talk about on the next slide, you are automatically considered for a merit-based scholarship. The scholarships are merit-based, they are not need-based. So we do review your application, everything that Kim's going to talk about. Everything goes into the review for consideration of scholarships. And you'll find out about your scholarship percentage at the same time as your acceptance. So you're not left wondering. So as soon as you get accepted, at the bottom of your acceptance letter, you'll see something called program letter. That is where your scholarship letter will be. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kim to talk about the application checklist.
Thank you very much. Okay, so one of my jobs, if you will, is to help you guys create as robust an application packet as possible. And what I mean is I can't review your documents and give you feedback, unfortunately, but what I can do is help share with you what committee ultimately tends to look for. Before we jump into any of these specific documents, really committee is looking for people who are incredibly passionate to help others. That's one of the key aspects is they're looking for a very diverse student body, a student body that really cares about other people, and they want to help make an impact in that community. And I use the term community pretty loosely. It could be something super local to you, whether your town or your city, or it could be global. So just keep that in mind as I go through these, but the requirements are this, and we use SOFAs, as is listed here at the bottom of the slide. We use SOFAs. It's an application platform. If you're not familiar with it, it's an application platform that a lot of universities actually use across the US if they have schools of public health or public health degree programs. So starting at the top, we do need 3 letters of recommendation. These cannot be personal letters, period. No family members, no friends. It has to be either an academic letter of recommendation or a professional letter of recommendation. And so typically speaking, if you've graduated 5 years or less from your last degree, whether that's a bachelor's or a master's or a doctorate, the committee would love to see at least one academic letter of recommendation. So if it's longer than that and you don't have any connections to anyone still in the academic world, then all professional letters of recommendation are absolutely fine. But I want to camp out on this for just a moment because as Emily alluded to, or stated, I should say, we are in the final stretch for our fall 26 application and for our early decision spring 27 application. And yes, that's quite a mouthful. So you have 2 weeks, June 15th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That application closes and it's done. We don't accept anything past that. There's no wiggle room, no exceptions. So the point I want to make about your letters of recommendation is make yourself a short list of people you think will sing your praises and do you justice. And we'll get it done for you quickly and in a very timely manner. Because quite honestly, if those documents aren't uploaded to your SOFA's application, committee can't review it, and you won't be able to get a decision back. So you want to make sure you're really communicating to your letter writers, hey, I would love for you to write me this letter. What do you think? I want to pursue a master's in public health. I want to go to Brown. But can you get it done for me in 2 weeks at the most? Can you get it done? And if they can't, then honestly move to the next person on your list. It's okay. They won't be offended. This is your education, but make sure you are very communicative in your expectations and what you need from them. The next is a personal statement. I want to come back to that because it can be a little meaty in what I want to share. So an updated resume or CV. And so either format is absolutely acceptable, but just make sure it's updated and shows all of your professional work experience. And Emily talked about that a little bit earlier, that we do require a minimum of 1 year of professional work experience. Now, the beautiful thing is committee does not make it have to be post-bac work. It can be work that you did either prior to we do have some older applicants. So prior to your bachelor's, during your bachelor's, or post-bac. Any one of those is fine, but it is a specific requirement and quite frankly, non-negotiable. Also, we need all of your official transcripts. And so now that was the first thing on the list, and I totally skipped over it. Okay, anyway, all your official transcripts, we need those. Even if you just took one class at a community college and it transferred over into your degree bearing school, you still have to get the original. And I'm going to be emphatic about this because what SOFAS does is they go through and they will look at all of your transcripts with a fine-tooth comb. And if you are missing something, they will kick that application back to you. And so you just set yourself up for success. Get all your transcripts ordered, get them uploaded to SOFAS, and then that way SOFAS has everything they need to work through the verification process for you. Now, for international applicants, as you can see, you need a transcript evaluation. So we allow for 3 different companies. One is West, that's the most popular. You're welcome to use that. That transcript evaluation will be uploaded directly to SOFAS, but you can also use ECE and Spantran. And those two, there's a little bit of a wonky way to do it, but you would just work with me or Emily, and we would make sure we get a copy of those official transcript evaluation and make sure it's uploaded to your application so that SOFAS have that. Now, if you studied, again, international students, if you studied internationally and your language of instruction was not English, which will be stated in the transcript evaluation, by the way. So they will tell us very clearly what your language of instruction was. If it was not English, then you will need a TOEFL or an IELTS. So those are English proficiency exams. Now I'm going to go back to the personal statement real quick. This is a fantastic opportunity to let committee know a bit more about yourself. What has motivated you to want to pursue a master's in public health? What are some of your goals that you have in mind? What are you hoping to learn and achieve? And how do you plan to apply that in real life? And again, keep in mind, I said passionate, right? Committee's looking for people who are incredibly passionate about helping others. So that's your audience when you sit down to write that. And I always make a point to say, look, we call it a personal statement for a reason. Statement of purpose, other schools use, SOFAS even uses, but we refer to it as a personal statement for that reason. And the other thing you want to make sure to include is why us? We know there's a lot of schools out there. We know there's a lot of different MPH programs out there. So what is it about ours that really resonates with you? And if you don't know, spend some time on the website because it's pretty clear how we approach educating people within the realm of public health. And some of that stuff will definitely resonate, and you can use that in your personal statement. So once you get all these documents on file, again, 2 weeks, people, 2 weeks for fall and for early decision spring 27. Once all that's on file, and you've submitted your application, SOFAS will go through, like I said, with a fine-tooth comb. They will verify it. And once verified and all documents are on file, we will immediately send it to committee to start the review process. Between Emily and I, we do our best to keep you updated on that and make sure you know when it goes to committee. And typically their turnaround is 4 to 6 weeks on decisions. Okay, good.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kim. That was incredibly helpful. All right. So as Kim mentioned, these are our upcoming deadlines. So we're going to talk about fall for a second because fall is pretty easy right now. The final deadline is June 15th. So final deadline, as Kim mentioned, we unfortunately do not accept any applications submitted past June 15th, 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in SOFAS. So once you hit submit on your application for fall, you are good. There is a little bit of a wiggle room after you hit submit to get any remaining documentations in. Remaining documentations mean another letter of recommendation. SOFAS will verify you with 2 letters of recommendation. We require 3. So there's a little bit of wiggle room, but you have to hit submit by June 15th if you want to be considered for the fall 2026 cohort. It's okay if that is a super quick timeline and this is the first time you're hearing about the program. That's okay. We do have our spring 2027 application. So right now, spring 2027 early decision. If you apply again by June 15th, early decision just means that you will get your decision within 4 to 6 weeks. So if you'd like to apply for spring 2027, so Sophus will actually close. So Sophus is the platform that we use. It's an outside third-party platform, but Sophus will reopen on August 12th. So on August 12th, if you still want to apply for spring 2027, you absolutely can. You have much more time when Sophus reopens. So the final deadline, if you'd like to apply for spring 2027, is October 15th. And that semester starts January 27th, 2027. So super confusing, but
Mhm.
just know if you want to apply for spring 2027, you still have time to do so once Sophus reopens. Kim, is
Let
there
me make
anything else you want to add? Yeah.
Yeah, if you don't mind. So one thing we are honestly not totally clear on is how much of your documentation you upload will get lost if you don't complete your application by June 15th. We're expecting most of it to get just wiped out. So if you think in your head, okay, I want to do spring 27, there's no way I can get this completed by June 15th. I'll just work on what I can and hope that it stays in sofas. Honestly, don't do that. If you think spring 27 is your best bet and you don't think that you have time right now to get it done, please wait until it opens again mid-August. That way, for sure, none of your documents will get erased and deleted out of the SOFA system.
Yes, thank you, Kim. That is a very good tip. So all right. And there will be, so once Sophus reopens in August, we will open spring 2027, summer 2027, and fall 2027. So if you're thinking way far in advance, August 12th is when the 2027 applications will open. But for the purposes of this webinar, we have um, June 15th, final deadline, fall 2026. There is still time, plenty of time to get your applications in. All right, I see some Q&A questions already, so thank you all so much for submitting questions. I see a question, can you give me examples of different practicum students have done? Yes, Nithya, do you want to share some practicum examples?
Yeah, so practicums can be really varied, and I think that's the beauty of it, but it can also be confusing, so I understand that. It really depends on the organization, it depends on the work that you are interested in. For instance, when I did my practicum, I helped do data analysis of all the dental sealant programs that existed in the state of Rhode Island, and I created a GIS map. I also helped them with refreshing their website on the state so that people could easily access which cities or which schools had a dental program and which did not. There are other students who have done needs assessment surveys. Some students have developed their questionnaire for any survey that needed to be sent out. Some people have. One of our very ambitious students even started a nonprofit that she looked at in Tanzania, where she looked at female genital mutilation. She started a nonprofit. She applied for some grants to be able to do some work there. So it can be as big or small as you would like it to be, depending on your interest, your time, the amount of time that you have available to engage in the practicum.
Awesome, thank you. We have a question. I'm not too familiar with Sophus, and I'm applying for other schools. Will it give me the option to submit for one school at a time, or do I have to send them all at once? Awesome question. Kim, do you want to answer this?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the beautiful thing about SOFAs is that some of your, like, let's say you're applying to 3 different schools and you've uploaded your official transcripts. Those will share over from one school to the next in the application. Your resume will share over. but like your personal statement should be individualized per school. So Sophos is great where it can share some of the documents so you're not starting from scratch on every single application, but you can apply for only one. And their cost, Sophos cost is $150 for the first application you submit, and then $60 for any subsequent application you decide to submit. So you can absolutely pick and choose. You don't have to apply to all three, as in my example.
Yes, and it's not uncommon for, if you're applying for multiple schools for the admissions committee, your letters of recommendation also share over. So it's not uncommon for the admissions committee to see, another school mentioned in a letter of recommendation. That's completely fine. We understand there's several other online and PH programs or different programs that you might be applying to. What's really important when what you can customize is your personal statement. So that you want to make sure if you're applying for multiple schools, make sure you take the school name that you're applying for and upload that to your letter, to your application. But it's perfectly normal for the committee to see letters of recommendation with different schools. We understand we're not the only online and PH program, and we want you to find the program that's the best fit for you as well.
Absolutely. Can I just comment real quick?
Yeah.
The one thing I did have this question come up recently. So I had a young lady who had letter writers write her letters of rec for medical school. And she decided, I want to hold off on medical school. I want to do an MPH first. So that had to change. The school, the program she was applying for, those letters of rec definitely needed to be updated to reflect a master's in public health, not med school, because obviously that was not the case anymore.
Awesome. Thank you, Kim. Thank you all so much for your questions. The next question is, what of the range of work experience across the students? Great question. We have students with a minimum of 1 year work experience. We also have students with 20 plus years of work experience. So the range we normally see is about 5 to 10 years of work experience, is what the average is. But we have students who have the minimum and also students who have several years of work experience. But most of our students in the average are between 5 and 10 years of work experience. Let's see. Do you have application fee waivers? We do have a form on our website to fill out for application fee waivers. The fee waivers are for students who have participated in service-based organizations or public health-based organizations. So they are not need-based application fee waivers. Sophos on their website actually has application fee waiver forms for need-based, but for our purposes on our website, you can find if you apply for an application fee waiver and you've participated in either a service-based organization or public health-based organization, you would qualify for an application fee waiver. If you don't know, that's okay. Just upload. You can fill out the form, and then we'll go back and forth and see if you're qualified for an application fee waiver. But that's the ones that we provide from our program. All right. Is it possible to submit additional information to the admissions office after an application has been submitted? Yes. If you want to email, and I'll have our contact information at the end. If you've already submitted your application and you want to submit, sometimes people will submit an addendum. Please email onlinesph_admissions@brown.edu. And I will put that in the chat for everybody. So that is the best way to submit any additional information after your application's been submitted. How many hours per week should we plan per course? Nithya, do you want to talk about the hours per week per course and kind of your course load?
Yeah, so I've heard from my students that every course takes an average of 12 to 15 hours of work per course per week. That's the time that you spend doing the readings, watching the lecture videos, attending the synchronous session, doing the assignments. All of it together takes about that much time. So if you're taking multiple courses, I would basically multiply that. So if you're doing the standard plan and you're taking 2 classes, it can be 24 to 30 hours of work a week if you're taking 4 classes, which is why we usually don't recommend the accelerated plan if you have a very heavy workload, like you have a lot of work, or you have a lot of personal commitments, family commitments, there's a lot of things going on in life. then I would not recommend the accelerated plan because that's almost the same or more than a full-time job, the amount of work that there is. And usually the students who pick the accelerated plan is somebody who's in a gap year or who's between jobs, that they end up choosing that plan. So be really cautious, and which is why that plan also requires program approval. So if you want to be in the accelerated option, you have to reach out to us and we have to approve it so that you can be able to register for that many classes.
Thank you, Nithya. Yes, good thing to mention about the accelerated plan. We do have a lot of students that are doing the accelerated plan, but again, you do need to fill out a form to make sure that you understand the requirements for the accelerated plan. And your practicum as well, when Nithya talked about the practicum, your practicum is not tied to a course. So just keep that in mind. If you also are thinking about the accelerated plan, you will need to complete your practicum as well. That's sometimes something that students forget about. So it can be done. We have lots of students on the accelerated plan right now, but just think about that before you make that decision for yourself. All right. What percentage of students are doing part-time or one course at a time? Nithya, do you know how many? There's a lot
Um,
of
yeah,
students
there's
on
a
a
lot of
custom
them.
plan of study.
Yeah, I think maybe 20 something percent, or I would say, are part-time. Yeah.
Yes. Part-time, there is a lot of flexibility with the program, and a lot of students take advantage of that, which is really great. I think that's one of the really good benefits of our program. And you can again change how you want your courses to be structured. You just have to make sure to communicate with us. But we have a lot of students who are on either accelerated, part-time, the standard plan. There's 12 months, 16 months, tons of different options for flexibility for students.
Yeah,
I
it's
think
hard to say exactly part-time because nobody stays. I mean, a lot of them don't stay part-time throughout. They end up being
mm,
part-time, and then maybe in the summer they end up going to full-time, and then they go back to part-time. So it's hard. But if you want to do part-time the whole time, that's also okay. I know we've had students do that.
don't they have to finish everything, right, within 5 years for it to be
Yes.
conferred? Okay, so that's sort of the ultimate time frame,
Yeah.
and whether you go part-time, mix it up, or full-time or accelerated, you have to get everything done in 5 years. So keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, and we
Yeah.
say 5 years because it can take 4 years if you do the standard part-time, but then a lot of times if you're doing part-time, then there must be something else going on in your life that is causing interruptions. So students sometimes take a leave of absence. They are allowed to take 3 semesters off from the program in total, which adds up to a year. So that's why the 5 years.
Great, thank you. Do you have a minimum GPA requirement or require the GRE? Nithya, Kim, do you want to talk about this?
Yeah, I wouldn't say first of all, we don't require the GRE or the GMAT. You can include that if you feel like your math scores are on the lower end and you want to supplement that, you can do that, but it's not a requirement. We don't really see if someone has submitted the GRE, it's just included almost like how we review their transcripts and assess their coursework. In terms of GRE, I mean the GPA, it's hard to say because sometimes if you have a lower GPA, but you have great work experience and you've done very relevant public health work experience, your letters are good, your essays shows that you have a very clear interest in public health and what you want to get out of the program, that can offset the lower GPA. Yeah, it's hard to put a specific number to that. But I would say on average, most of our students have over a 3.0, I would say.
All right, we're going to do a last call for questions, and we're going to go over ways to stay connected with us. So, as Kim mentioned, she is our graduate recruitment coordinator. So, if you get texts, calls, or emails from Kim, please answer them. She's here to help you. So, Kim is a wonderful resource. So, she is your GRC, that stands for Graduate Recruitment Coordinator. So for this program, it's Kim. We're so lucky to have Kim with us. And Kim's been with the program since its inception. So fantastic. We have our website that you can also stay connected with us. It's onlinemph.brown.edu. So that is our main website for our online program. And then I put this in the chat as well. But this is our email address. This is online sph_admissions@brown.edu. So that is a general inbox, but Kim and I also monitor that. So you can get to me or Kim with that inbox, and we'll make sure to get you to the right person. But I just wanted to thank everyone so much. You were so engaged this afternoon, which we love. We love answering questions about the program, and we hope to see your application soon. Thank you all so much for attending.